Hello everyone, this is Dr. Sonal Jain from Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi. In this series of forensic science lecture, today we are going to discuss about various types of crime. In the previous series, we have discussed about crime, definition and how a criminal is being because of various social factors or biological factors came into being. Today, in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the organized crime and the serial crime. If we talk about organized crime, going by the definition, a continuing criminal enterprise that works rationally to profit from illicit activities that are often in great public demand. The illicit activities could be anything, for example, whether there is any liquor which is prohibited, or there is a liquor with the amount of liquor is prohibited to take from a lower amount to the higher amount. So for that amount, some bars or some places they need a license. So the illicit activity may include that if the license permit them for the liquor of around 10, then they have the liquor of around 20x. So going by the definition, any work that rationally profit from the illicit activities which are often in great public demand. Its continuing existence is maintained through the use of force, threats and or corruption of public officials. Commonly, the organized crime which is being committed, they are referred to as the mafia. Mafia, one of the major group mafia is LCN, La Cosa Nostra. In an organized crime, the members of organized crime must be accomplished criminals before they enter such groups, which are organized around creating criminal opportunities. So the persons who are involved in such activities where the crime, where you have any illicit activity going on, there is a proper way, and in the organized crime, the structure of the organized crime is as per they have a boss, there is a proper hierarchy which is maintained in the organized crimes, and if any person who is becoming a member of this group, he or she must be an accomplished criminal to be a part of such organized crime. The structure, as we are discussing, it is in hierarchical fashion, reflecting various levels of power and specialization, with a national ruling body which is known as the commission. So an organized crime is not specific to a society, to a state, to a district or to a country. It might be the whole structure might involve various countries to run that illicit activity. That illicit activity could be any drug trafficking or any other form of liquor trafficking or any other thing which is banned, any other animal which is banned. That trafficking involve various countries as per. In this hierarchy, the top of the family is the boss, beneath the boss is a counselor, and then an underboss. Beneath the underboss are the lieutenants, below the lieutenants are the soldiers, and below the soldiers are the associates. So going by the structure, the hierarchy is maintained, and a criminal, if he wants to be a part of this organized crime, he has to be an accomplished criminal, then only he can enter into a group which is running an illicit activity or part of an organized crime. The membership in the family entitles the member to run his own rackets using the family's connections and status. This corporate model, a formal hierarchy in which day-to-day activities of the organizations are planned and coordinated at the top and carried out by the subordinates. Any deal, any major deal can be conducted by the boss, and then the orders are being transferred as per the hierarchy to the underboss, then to the lieutenants, and then to the soldiers and the further associates who work from them. This feudal model of the LCN views it as a loose connection of criminal group held together by kinship and patronage. So there are certain characteristics of an organized crime, or whether a certain crime can be defined as an organized crime. There are certain criminals which work solely, they work for their benefit, or they are one-time offenders or one-time criminals. But the organized crime that runs as a proper teamwork, they will have association that may last decades. Any group or any mafia which is working, they might work together for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. The hierarchical structure, it has grades of authority from the lowest to the highest. They have a proper planning, advanced arrangements for commission of the crime, taking least risks and ensuring safety and protection of each and every person. Their authority is centralized, that means the authority is in the hands of one individual or only few members. So committing an organized crime, they should have a lot of reserved fund which can be obtained from profits and serves as a capital for criminal activities. Also, if we look in the long run, they seek help from various police, lawyers, political parties, people who are in at the higher positions and who are having a lot of funds which they will use for their activities, and in return they will give favor to all these persons. They have a specialization. Groups may be specialized in one or more crimes. Groups engaged in multiple crimes are more influential and powerful. So, committing an organized crime, if you need any person in the whole hierarchy who is good in technical, the person who is good in making connections, who is good in gathering or recruiting more people. So, as per their qualities, people are recruited in an organized crime setup which is more like running a company. Division of labor is particularly defined in such organized crimes, that the lieutenants are assigned a particular work, the associates are assigned a particular work, and they use violence for conducting their activity. If we talk about the monopoly, the mafia has a monopoly in their sector and they do not allow any other group which is conducting similar or other activity in an organized way to enter into their area, or to work in their area where they are having connections or where they are carrying out their illicit activities. They conduct norms to maintain discipline, loyalty and efficiency, because the whole activity requires a form of loyal and efficient people. The types of organized crimes include the gang criminality. They are involved in such works which includes the kidnapping, extortion, robbery, vehicle theft on a very larger scale. So, either the organized crime, they are being given certain money by people for conducting such activities, or for their own funding for their other illicit activities, they might get involved in robbery of banks or of rich people, where they can get some funds for their other illicit activities, or for buying certain arms and ammunitions which is required for their criminal activities. The members who are part of this organized crime, they kill or assault people and use violence to conduct their crimes. As they have a lot of funding, they are equipped with all the modern weapons which can be used for their activities, and mostly if we are talking about an organized crime, the whole setup, they are spread over a larger area. They are not restricted to a certain district or state or country. They are spread over many countries. Their members are recidivists. That means they are repetitive offenders. The persons who are involved in multiple kidnapping, multiple murders, multiple robberies, etc. So they themselves say they are recidivists. Another type of organized crime is the racketeering. It is an activity of an organized criminal gang engaged in extortion of money from both legal as well as illegal businesses. They live on the blood and labor of others, and it has been found that it's tending in protecting restaurant owners and big shop owners from possible harm. So the racketeering, it is basically a big field where the big people, they kill other people and they live on the fundings of other people. Now, as we are defining the organized crime, another type of crime is syndicate crime, which is quite similar to the organized crime. In syndicate crime, it is furnishing illegal goods and services by an organized criminal gang like mafia. They promote or they transfer illegal goods like drugs, liquor, any animal which is banned to various countries. They are involved in illegal services like call girls, gambling which is not restricted to a specific area. They are involved in gamblings, online gamblings which are being there all over many countries. So the illegal services, if they are talking about the call girls, they are sometimes involved in the kidnapping and then turning them into the call girls. Mostly as compared to the organized crime, syndicate crime, they restrict themselves to use violence. If by any chance the services, the illicit services they are conducting or they are doing, it requires any violence, otherwise they are not involved in other type of crimes which involves blood. For example, they are not involved in murder, rape, etc. It's basically they are involved in such activities which requires the transfer services of goods from one place to another, which are illegal or illicit services. The members of the syndicate, they may be respectable citizens and they are involved in these crimes, as well as they might have another respectable business running down. So you might never know that a person who is a respectable citizen of a country, he is also involved in other activities which is a syndicate crime. Syndicate, they operates usually in big metropolitan areas. Their structure is boss, under boss, intermediates and then the criminals. They have certain rules of conduct which all the members of syndicate gang follow. Be loyal to maintain unity in the gang. They never interfere with each other interest. They are not an informer. That means whatever work they are conducting, they are having, they are not decoding or letting their information out of their gang. They are rational and they work as a team member, and whatever work is being assigned to them, they work safely, quietly and in a profitable manner. So the gang members who are involved with the syndicate crime, they never let their information go out of their gang and usually they work as team members. As they avoid violence, usually they keep their eyes and ears open and their mouth shut. They are man of honor, they respect womanhood and elders, and they do not get engaged in battles which they can't win. That means that wherever they look for the chance where they can get in the activities and they can get benefit from such activities, then only they get involved into that. Otherwise, if their work requires anything which requires violence, they try to avoid that. In as we were talking about the organized crime, it is the whole various countries are involved in such crimes all over the world. But specifically if we talk about organized crime in India, the number one organized crime which is going on is number betting, and it is also sometimes known or classified as the matka business. It is the most easy source of money making. It's a feature of urban poor life, daily wage earners and low salary class workers. An average of rupees 20 per week is spent by them. The payoff exceeds more than 20 times the amount invested. That's why they get involved in the activities of number betting. The organization of this business, bets picked up by agents. Agents pass the money and betting slips to the local collectors, and the collectors pass it to the controller or the owner. And at the payoff time, the money follows the same reverse route. The agents and collectors get a commission for their money. So then after the number betting, second most influenced organized crime in India is drug trafficking. Drugs are carried from one country to another or from one region to another, and their distribution to the addicts. Pimps get the drugs from the organized groups and distribute to the persons who are visiting them, and in some certain cases in fact the police are fixed up, and hence nobody get arrested in this particular loop of organized crime of drug trafficking. The third one is the estate racketeering. Gangs are engaged in getting the houses, shops vacated from tenants after charging huge amounts of money from the house owners. That is also one of the major organized crime in India. Then the automobile thefts, they target certain automobiles, certain cars, certain trucks, and that can be again robbed off. Supply of illegal weapons, that is also one of the major organized crime, and that is being there from decades, and many countries are involved in such organized crimes activities. Then we have serial crimes. Serial crimes are basically generally defined in a serial or repetitive nature. Any type of crime occurring in a pattern indicating a single offender. Serial crimes come under the crime type 2 categories, where we can define serial crimes as serial stalking, serial killing, serial rape, serial arson, serial bombers, etc., which are examples of serial crimes where people are involved in all these activities. So, if a serial stalking is done physically, then the other person might get to know that I am being stalked by another person. He or she can feel physically that some person is stalking me. But on the online platform, the stalking is a bit different. You have certain social media profiles, someone is stalking your social media profile, is gaining information from your social media profile that you are not even aware of. You are putting your day-to-day activities, your day-to-day life on social media, and a person is taking information all from your social media handles, whether it is your Twitter account, your Instagram account, your WhatsApp account, or your Facebook account. In such cases, the offender, he takes note of what time you are going, when either you are present in your house or not, either you are present in your country or not, if you are uploading any pictures or any information about your holiday trip or work trip, then the offender might get to know that this person or this family is currently not present in his or her house. That might lead to robbery, or that might lead to certain other crimes. So this type of stalking is nowadays more common than the physical stalking, where the offenders are stalking your personal social media handles and they are taking notes and information from your social media handles and they are working on it. For example, in the recent cases, everyone puts their photographs of their children, grandchildren, in which school they are going, what time they are going. So the offenders get an idea that these persons, children, they are studying in a particular school. So all this information he might take note of, and which will help him in kidnapping or plan a kidnapping of a particular child. The serial offenders, they can be classified as either disorganized, which are known as asocial offenders, and organized, which are social offenders. Organized and disorganized offenders are more apt to, they plan their work, they use their restraints, that if we are involved in such activities, we will restrain ourselves to just the kidnapping, not the murder. If they are involved in the sexual activities, they are involved with the live victims, and they emphasize control over the victim by manipulating or threatening. On the other hand, if we are talking about the disorganized offenders, they are more apt to leave a weapon at the crime scene, whether it is intentionally or unintentionally. They reposition the body, and there are certain psychopath criminals which perform sexual acts with the dead body. Sometimes asocial offenders, they keep the dead body with them, they keep the dead body in their house, cutting the dead body, try to depersonalize the body, they try to keep the dead body in their refrigerator so that people should not get notice of that thing. They will sometimes cut the body into various parts and then dispose it off. Such are the examples of the person who are asocial offenders or disorganized offenders. So serial offenders can also be classified as act focused. They could be visionaries or missionaries, and the process focused is hedonist. Hedonist means that they are self-indulged. If they are conducting certain activity, it is because they are comfort oriented, lust oriented, thrill oriented, gain oriented, or power or control freak. So they want some control or power over certain persons. They have their gain in them. They enjoy conducting such activities. So it's basically the self-indulgence in them which make them hedonists. Serial killings or serial murders, they are also called the unlawful homicide of at least two people carried out in a series over a period of time. Various researchers have agreed that serial killers, they must have a minimum of 3 to 4 victims so that they could be identified as serial killers. Some persons, they have intentional setting, they set up the intentional fire in a repetitive manner, then that is described as serial arson. They might set up a fire at a certain place, and if they have set up fire at 3 to 4 places, then they could be called as the serial arsonist. As we spoke about the serial stalking, it is an ongoing, usually long-term crime without a traditional crime scene. In other words, a repeated pattern of intrusion and harassment involving various forms of communication and physical contact. So, if a person is involved in conducting serial crimes, that could be serial murder, serial rape, serial stalking, etc., that could be the reason of various biosocial or physiological factors which affect these serial criminals. The psychological factors, it helps in the development of serial murderers, which have sometimes included obvious abuse or emotional isolation in childhood, which leads to the formation of dysphasic personality, head injury or brain pathology, traumatic experience and the feelings. So, if a person who is conducting a crime, whether organized crime or serial crime, there are certain biological and social factors which are related to this, which may lead to these persons to commit such activities. So, to conclude, if we are looking at a crime or a criminal, we must look what are the factors which might have influenced such behavior, and we should learn for the interventions which will help the criminal to come out of this and remain spend their life as a respectable citizen. Thank you.